Welcome back to the Experience Pros Radio Show, the most positive business talk show in America. Very nice to have you. Angel Tassi, Eric Raymer, helping you get your business right. You know, one of the things we talk about a lot here on the program is the role, and I think our endorsement of the role of a solid mentor and what it can do for the recipient, the mentee, if you will.
Absolutely. Mentorship in business is key, and especially for women. According to our next guest, they say women have come a long way over the last 50 years when it comes to equality in the workplace. But here's something that's interesting. A recent study conducted by McKinsey & Company, they surveyed 118 companies and nearly 30,000 employees, and they discovered that men and women were entering the workforce on almost an equal footing, with 45% of entry-level jobs being filled by women. And yet, despite the starting line seemingly close, by the time women reach the vice president level in these corporations, participation decreased to 27% and drops again to only 17% of women reaching the C-suite level.
Wow.
Right? And so this is where the support and mentorship really comes into play. Our guest is Lauren Davenport. She's an expert in developing digital marketing and technology solutions. But she says, as a mentor, you have the privilege of helping shape the next generation of leaders by sharing your experiences and your advice. Lauren Davenport, welcome to the Experience Pros Radio Show.
Good morning, Eric and Angel. It's a pleasure to be here this morning.
Well, the pleasure is all ours, Lauren, and you're drawing attention to a very important topic, and I think a relevant topic to the business community at large. So what are we to do with this, and how should we jump in? And just having a mentor is not necessarily going to change your bottom line, is it?
Absolutely not. If you don't have a mentality for openness and learning, the greatest mentor in the world can't help you.
Well said.
So starting with that is key. But then finding a mentor in multiple different arenas. I think everybody should have multiple mentors to help you really grow, because there are so many facets of becoming a successful business person or business woman, no matter if you are in the corporate world or in the entrepreneur world.
You know, Lauren, I think about some different folks that have poured into me over the years that I would consider a mentor to me, but it wasn't a formal mentor-mentee relationship. We didn't meet on a regular basis, though I think I could have really benefited from something like that. But how do you ask somebody to, take
Stop
on another job and mentor you?
That's a great question, Angel. And I'm on the board for Working Women Foundation here in Tampa Bay, and we get that a lot. How am I going to take on another job? I don't have time as it is. And I have had mentorships that have been more formal and that have been less formal, like you mentioned. And sometimes it's a good mix between the both that really creates winning results. But when it comes to mentors, it doesn't necessarily have to even be an ongoing thing. Sometimes it can be literally just reaching out to a woman who is in your dream job, who you would idealize and look up to, and asking to meet with her for coffee or take her out to lunch, and just sitting down and having questions that you want to get answered, and growing from and taking that and learning from what she can provide for you, even in that 30-minute coffee or 1 hour lunch. So it doesn't have to be something that's daunting to women or another thing that they have to take on or another job to really mentor. It's really more of a state of life and state of being.
Kind of an advisory role as well. Now, interestingly enough, in your own story, Lauren, you talk about having a close mentor who gently approached a topic that we've talked about here on the Experience Pros Radio Show. In fact, it occupies a chapter of our book, and that is the wardrobe. Talk about that and help our listeners understand what happens.
Sure. Well, when I first started my business, I was in college. It was back before social media. Marketing was a, big to-do thing. And so when I graduated, I had about 15 clients in the Nashville area, which is where I grew up, that I was working with running their social media marketing, from attorneys to doctors to magazines to restaurants. And coming straight out of college with zero corporate experience, I was still wearing the same clothes, maybe a little bit nicer than I had been wearing to class. And so when I moved my business to St. Petersburg due to market research in 2011. But when I got here, I hit the ground running looking for every networking event that I could possibly find, but with still a more casual, younger-looking wardrobe versus it being more business-focused. And I had a mentor in that group, or in a group that I was networking with, who gently brought me aside about 6 months after I had joined the group and let me know, it wasn't that my skirts were too short, but that I would get a lot more respect with people who were a couple generations above me if I would dress a little more professional. So I did. I went out and I got jackets and long pants and figured out, what that look was going to mean for me and how I could still make it fun and energetic. But it made all the difference. It wasn't but a few weeks later after I had made that transition that I was starting to see that the people in the business community were responding to me better.
And it's amazing when, I remember when we kind of changed our wardrobe for that same reason, to be taken professionally, be taken seriously. But these days, everybody wants to be so casual and so authentic and just wear, their jeans and hoodies and think that, that we can get away with it. But what we wear matters. But Lauren, the fact that you were open to listening, to taking the advice of somebody who had stepped before you, I think was almost, just as equally as important as the way you changed, it was your attitude that I'm stepping into this role of this professional businesswoman. I'm taking my career very seriously. And now you've been able to turn that around and give that back. And I do think that the numbers are staggering.
You bet.
How quickly do you think we could turn around these numbers, these statistics that go from 45% down to 17% in the C-suite level? Do you think it's going to take a long time, or do you think we can, kind of jump in and rally together and make a difference quicker?
We're in such an interesting time these days. People, I don't think, realize quite how much the internet has changed our culture and what it's really going to look like when millennials are a majority of the workforce. The digital culture is so different than the business culture of the past 10 or even 20 years. It embraces the democratic idea that we all have access to the same information. We have the access in this country to be able to, go after the things that we want. And so because of that, I think that it is going to start changing. One of the things that's really interesting in that study specifically is that it's not that women cite that they are wanting to not pursue the jobs because of spending time with their family or having children. They're citing it because they do not want to endure the level of stress that comes along at that C-suite level, which men seem to be more open to dealing with and coping with. So I think it will take time. I think that it will happen faster than we probably even expect, especially as the millennial generation becomes a larger portion of our workforce. But just like any change, it will take time.
We're just afraid to admit our fear, Lauren. That's what the real thing is. we get into that C-suite and we're like, I have no idea what the heck I'm doing, but can't tell anybody because we don't share. Love this conversation. Love what you are doing in order to reach out and mentor women as well. Give some contact information, if you will, please, Lauren, so that people can reach out to you and follow up after this interview.
Sure, absolutely. Feel free to check out our website. It's www.symphonyagency.com. Follow us on social media, and you can find me there.
I love it. Lauren, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Angel and Eric. It was a pleasure.
All righty. It was good stuff right there. And symphonyagency.com, I'm on the website. There's a Santa Claus picture, which is very cool.
It is very cool. Okay, so before the end of the year, before you turn over your new calendar and you start setting up those goals.
A new calendar.
You start setting those goals for next year. You need to stop and do this one thing before the end of the year.
One thing.
And that is to take some time to reflect on
bacon.
The milestones and the achievements you have accomplished this year.
Who are you and what have you done with my business partner?
I know, I'm always just wanting to
I'm
look
the
ahead.
one who says that.
No, enjoy this moment, recognize what you have accomplished, how far you've come, because I think it's too easy to get caught up in what's next and where are we going.
Amen.
Celebrate what you've done.
Amen. I like that. All right, gang, we're going to celebrate for the next 5 minutes as we do business with the people who do business with the pros. We expect you to do the same thing. Back after this.
The Experience Pros, revolutionizing the way people treat people in business.